The demand for group and private events is at an all-time high. Is your business ready to capitalize on all these opportunities? With Restaurant as your booking partner, you can ensure event success this year and beyond.
With no booking fees or commissions, Restaurant has helped over 2,000 restaurants, bars, and breweries reach local event planners who are looking for a space for their next gathering. Whether it's a birthday, anniversary, graduation, or corporate event, Restaurant will get your space booked.
Try it today and receive 3 months completely risk-free by signing up at restaurant.com/podcast. That's restaurant.com/podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Sarek.
And I'm Spencer Michael.
And this is So You Want to Run a Restaurant, created by the team at backofhouse.io, the most trusted resource for restaurant tech.
Welcome, everyone. Today, we're talking with Maya Madsen, founder of Maya's Cookies, a vegan cookie company and bakery that exploded overnight.
Maya started in her kitchen because she couldn't find the perfect soft-baked vegan cookie. Then one viral moment sent her business absolutely soaring. We're talking 10,000% growth almost overnight.
Which is incredible. And now her cookies, they ship nationwide and are loved by vegans and non-vegans alike.
Well, Maya, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you on the show.
So much.
My pleasure. I am so happy to be here. And anytime there's a microphone in front of me, I can't resist. So you might regret this.
You're in good company here today then. Very good company.
That's right. So, Maya, let's kick this off. Your cookies were born out of a personal craving to find the perfect soft bake vegan cookie. What is the first memory of the cookie that made you think, okay, this is it. I've got something here? Take us back to then.
Sure. I don't have one exact memory, but a little backstory. I spent 30 years as a personal trainer, fitness instructor that happened to be vegan. So as I like to say, I took a classic chocolate chip recipe and I veganized it because I wanted an ooey gooey cookie to have on my cheat day, right? And I began sharing that cookie with my clients on their birthdays to show them the merits of plant-based eating and to prove that you can still enjoy desserts. And when 2015 came around, I had 2 kids in college at the same time, and I was just buried in bills, helping them navigate college. So I decided to start selling my cookies to my clients and friends. And once I got up to about 20 dozen a week baking, I said, maybe these cookies have some merit. And I decided to enter the local fair, our county fair, and I won. And so that gave me the courage to start a business. So I thought, are my friends just being nice because they know I'm broke right now because I have 2 kids in college? Yeah. Or do these cookies actually have some merit? So I won and I said, okay, they have merit. Let's go. And I started researching the best way to start a business and sell. And it turns out it was farmers markets. And that's how I began.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were doing 20 dozen out of your home kitchen and like you have one oven?
I sure was. And the oven is still broken. I broke our oven, so it still doesn't work 10 years later.
The repair guy's on his way, I swear. Yeah.
Yes. Fond memories. So,
yep.
All right. So you went from a farmer's market to nationwide shipping and a physical store. What was the moment that you said, okay, was it when you entered the farmer's market where you said, okay, this is really turning into something bigger than what I thought?
Again, backstory time.
Yeah.
In San Diego, we're a tourist city, and thousands of people come here for vacation. And when they come here for vacation, they go to our local farmers markets. So I would get customers from all over the country who happened to be vegan and found my little booth and loved the product and would then email me and say, hey, I live in Virginia. Do you ship? And I didn't, but I just said yes. And voila, my e-commerce site was born. And that's kind of how it grew. It was from customers visiting our booth at the farmers markets and wanting to have the cookies at other times of the year when they weren't in San Diego. And also at our farmers markets, we get a lot of foodie people that come through there. And someone from a nationwide publication, a food publication, stumbled across my product and ran a little story and did some social media. And I grew. That was my next little bump in growth. And it was just slowly and organic. It was very organic. The backstory to that backstory is I was renting a commercial kitchen space, commissary space out of a kimchi and sauerkraut kitchen in San Diego because I was broke and it was the cheapest commercial kitchen I could find. So not only was I smelling like sauerkraut, and
Let's say what
onions.
a mix of smells of kimchi and sauerkraut and cookies.
And I
These
always
are things that do
wondered
not
if it
go.
affected the flavor of the cookies, but the customers never complained.
I was like,
But
apparently
anyhow,
not. Yeah.
right? I outgrew that commercial kitchen and had to find my own space. And I did. And I was renting it out at night in order to pay the rent because I couldn't afford it. And when I was baking in there to support our online and our farmers markets, people kept coming, knocking on the door, trying to buy cookies because we happened to be across the street from a post office. And so thousands of people, foot traffic every day, they could smell it. And I said, I'm not a store.
Wow.
Sorry, we're in a commercial area. And finally, after enough people were knocking on my door, I said, maybe I should open a store here. So I turned our front lobby into a little small 10 by 10 storefront attached to our commissary kitchen. And that's how our first store was born. And people flocked to it especially in the vegan space, when they come visit San Diego, we're one of those foodie stops.
It's a great story because I think that this is a lot of times I have this grand vision of what I want and I'm going to have this plan put together where you started with the product first and made sure that that was what was number one and everybody wanted, and everything just grew out of demand. And that's I love that story because you didn't think grand first. You thought, I just need to make really good cookies, and then oh my goodness, people really like them, and the more people really like them, and then okay, I just got to keep going, and I'm going to keep going. So great for you. That's an awesome story.
And I have free smells for everyone to enjoy to entice them.
Exactly.
I have definitely been swayed by this before. I think about Garrett's Popcorn downtown Chicago. I mean, every time you walk past this popcorn place, that's all you want is the popcorn. So that's amazing.
Any bakery you go into right away, you're like, oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So for somebody selling at a farmer's market right now, there's so many people trying to launch new CPG brands at farmer's markets and starting off really small. What are like a couple tips or tricks that you would give them to moving their product into a larger scale? Like what you did?
Oh, wow. So my tips and tricks, I have several, but I'll narrow it down. Number one, I was the person selling the product. I was the baker, I was the maker, I was the seller, because no one knows your product better than you. No one knows how to sell your product better than you. Yeah. And I developed a strong customer base. Some of our same customers that I met in 2015 are our customers today, and I watched their families expand and so on and so forth and have been part of their lives. So that was instrumental, stabilizing and getting my brand recognition, is having a strong brand presence and a brand people can trust. Because I was there, I was the one answering questions. I was using those customers as testers when I would come up with a new flavor profile. I would say, here's a new flavor. I would love for you to try it. Give me your feedback. And they'll be honest. They're also your first line of defense, developing that customer base, because when something is not quite right, they'll let you know. They're honest. Yeah. And for example, we had a bad batch of flour one time, and I didn't know because I didn't taste it. And I went and took the cookies to the market. And some customers reached out and they said, we know what your product tastes like. I think something's off. So they're your first line of defense. They are your biggest critics, your biggest champions. And that came back twofold for me because in 2020, that same customer support created an avalanche of online orders for me during the pandemic. But that's my first tip, is develop a strong customer base by being the face of the brand and the face of your product.
That's a great one.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's an amazing one. And I agree with you. It's really hard for somebody to call the baby ugly, but like sometimes you need somebody to come in and call the baby ugly. Yeah. And it's like, and it's yours. And it's hard. But it's nice that you took it on the chin, that kind of feedback, because it's making my product better. And thank God you told me before it went out even further.
The next thing is strong product quality and branding and consistency. So I've seen so many brands come to the farmer's market, and this week they're selling, mac and cheese, and they do that for a few months, and then next week their menu is a whole different product, and I just do cookies. People say, how come you don't do cakes or brownies? And there's several reasons, but the main thing is I'm a cookie company. Every now and then we might have a special something offshoot of cookies, but stick to just creating, again, that solid base of product and branding that customers can trust. And they know if they come to my booth, they're going to get cookies. We keep 5 flavors always. And then we have a rotating list of 5 additional flavors, whether that be seasonal, whether this month it's our Black History Collection flavors. So we give people something to look forward to. Online, we have 10 flavors available all times, but at the markets, I was keeping my 5 classic flavors plus additionals. And I noticed it created consistency because we had the regulars that wanted their snickerdoodles, and then we'd have a new flavor and they would say, oh, I'm going to get my snickerdoodle, but I think I'd like to also try this banana Foster's cookie. So it helped sales.
Yeah.
And then the third piece of advice is strong financials and books. And I noticed that a lot of vendors, they don't count their labor and the time and all of the things that go into your bottom line.
Yeah.
They just take the top line sales, here's what I made, and they don't calculate all of their overhead costs. So it looks, the books can look a lot different. And it's important to have your financials strong and stable so that if and when you do need to get extra capital or, you for taxes, for everything, you have a solid foundation and it's accurate and current.
It's no surprise that you grew out of with those three tips right there, and then the final piece, just the boring part of the business, the financials and keeping it tight. I mean, that it's so important, it's so key. And I love you hinted at it, and we want to talk about this in 2020. You had this overnight spike, this huge spike of sort of quoted a 10,000% spike in orders. That
amazing.
Is incredible and both terrifying at the same time.
I agree.
Technology decisions can make or break a restaurant. That's why restaurants turn to Back of House, your guide to smarter tech strategy. From point-of-sale systems to online ordering, labor tools, and guest engagement platforms, Back of House helps you cut through the noise with expert insights, comparisons, and best practices. Don't just buy tech, build a strategy that grows your business. Visit backofhouse.io and get the clarity you need to choose the right tools for your restaurant.
So when that first wave hit, when everything all of a sudden, I can't imagine it happened almost overnight, but I mean, over the course of a few days, months, or whatever it might be, when that wave hit, what was going through your mind?
Well, I woke up and I looked at my phone on my Shopify app and saw the orders in there and saw how much money was in there. And then I opened my bank account and saw how much money was in there because you get the deposits. And the first thought was, I'm rich. And that lasted for like 2 days.
I like that you allowed that though. You allowed you allowed yourself to be in the financial bliss. I'm just going to be in the prosperity for a second before I realize the reality of what is going on, which is that I now have to fill these orders.
Yes. So that was my first thought. And then the orders weren't stopping because back then with the algorithms of social media, the post was continuing to show through different algorithms. And so the orders weren't stopping. They were ongoing. And then it's panic hit in. So I was like, how am I going to do this? It's me and 2 people. How am I going to get supplies? How am I going to scale up? What am I going to do? My email was bursting with people saying, I just ordered. Where's my order? When's my order coming? 24 hours later, people were asking where their orders were. So I was going to turn off my website.
I click cookies now, not cookies later.
Yes. So I was going to turn off my website. And one of my mentors said, don't you dare do that because corporations would kill to have an opportunity like this, and you need to figure it out no matter what it takes. So I curled up and cried for a minute, and then I pulled up my big girl pants and figured it out. And I said, okay, first I need to mobilize a team together. I don't have time to train, so I need to find the best and the brightest. And colleges were out at the time because school was done. And I asked one of my college student friends, I said, I need you to gather all the valedictorians, salutatorians, D1, head of football teams, everybody who's high stress, high level, can work under pressure and smart. And I need you to gather all of them and see if they would like to come and work at Maya's Cookies for the next few weeks to help me figure this out. So I had a little army. I had an army of 19 to 22-year-olds that were, from Stanford, from, all the major universities all across the country that were home and, depressed because their sports are canceled or the school's done, their internships were lost. And not only that, they were willing to get behind the movement, the social unrest that was going on at the time. They wanted to be part of it.
Right.
So that was first step. So I did that in a day. So I didn't have time to vet. So that's why those standards.
Well, you did. I mean, the vetting is already in place if they've got to that level of
right.
You're going for the
early on.
You're going for the bright ones that didn't require all the training, which I totally get. You didn't have
Yes.
time.
Yes. So I don't know if that was good or bad, but it was good for me at the time.
Brilliant. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That was a great strategy. That's fantastic. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I don't know
Go
if
ahead.
that would go over so well in HR these days. But the next thing I had to do
They
was
get in
figure
the
out
way,
supplies.
HR.
Yeah. So my facility was 1,200 square feet. So I had to figure out, okay, I need semi-trucks worth of supplies of boxes, packaging, because 10,000 orders takes 10,000 boxes, takes 10,000, everything, right?
Yeah.
So I called my landlord, and this was on, the beginning of the month, and he was ignoring my calls. And it turns out he was doing that because most people during that time frame were saying, I can't pay my rent because it was
Right.
COVID. And so he was ignoring my calls. So I finally went above his head and found someone in his organization. I'm like, I need square footage. What do you guys, he's not returning my call. Give me a space now. So they had an empty 5,000 square foot space across the street from me. And I had to do a short-term lease to house all of the supplies. And it was more space than I needed, but it was all that was available. And, I spent a good chunk of money on that short-term lease to hold the supplies. So first we have the HR all paying all those workers. And then I had that temporary lease space. Then supply chains were disrupted, and a lot of vegan ingredients you can't just buy off the shelf at your local grocer, right?
Yeah.
They come from specialty makers. So I had to source all of our supplies, and supply chains were disrupted. So that held up some of our ordering process. And not only that, there were times where I had to go around I had to send all those staff to every grocery store in the San Diego region and buy all of their Earthbound's vegan butter. So if you're trying to buy Earthbound's vegan butter from June 1st through 4th, I apologize.
Your official apology. Yeah.
Yes. So
you now know who the culprit was that stole all the butter off the shelves.
Yeah, they're right. They hit pause in the podcast. And you remember that day we couldn't get the vegan butter?
Our vegan butter.
We were so mad.
It was me. So I spent a lot of money on supplies that were elevated costs that, had I had a system in place beforehand and had distributors and distribution, that may not have been the case. So I had to pay retail for some of those supplies to get those orders. Then our cookies are handmade. So I had to go to my equipment guy, who I just bought equipment from at my new facility that I was in, and say, do you have a machine or something that could help us spit out these cookies? Because I did the math, and 10,000 orders times 12 cookies each time, and it was ongoing. I said, in order to fulfill these orders by hand, it's going to take us X amount of, weeks, months, years. This is never going to happen. So without having a lot of time to research, he sold me a cookie depositor. And so basically, in a nutshell, a day later, I went on social media to thank everybody because our following was growing by the thousands. And I said, thank you all so much for all of your orders and your support. And I just wanted to let you know that I am working around the clock to fulfill these orders. And I broke down crying, and I just said, it's going to take us some time to get this done. I promise you. But I know our website at the time said, once your order's placed, we'll ship it to you within 2 to 3 days. And I said, we had to take that down. And I said, unfortunately, it's going to take us some time to get these orders, but I promise to get them fulfilled. And
were
so
people
what
understanding?
Happened, oh, man, I had never been on Instagram. It was always cookies.
Yeah.
So that was my first time in front of the camera. And the groundswell of support was just amazing. People were saying comments such as,
amazing.
Don't worry, take as long as you need for mine. Put my order at the end of the line.
Wow.
Whatever you need to do.
Nice.
But we also got people that were saying, I'm going to cancel my order. So in order to avoid that, what the plan I came up with is that I said, if someone says that, then let's pluck their order out of the queue and move it to the front. So every day we had about 150 of the 500 orders we were trying to get out that were plucked out of the queue because we were on order, 20,400 and they were order, 30,400.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. That's such
so...
What a massive change in your business and the way you do your business overnight. I mean, it's incredible that you were able to keep up with that demand, and understandable that it would take time for you to work out all of these systems and all of these processes to figure it out. I'm just like, it's amazing. I mean, you could write a book just on this chapter of the cookies, of the cookies journey, and other people too, advice for other people too that hit this viral fame, because we have a lot of folks on this show who get TikTok famous overnight, or they have a major TikToker come in or profile their restaurant or their bakery or whatever it is that they're doing. And then all of a sudden they're like, we had a line out the door. And it's like, we don't have the staff. We don't have, we don't have the operation to do this. This is so far out of the norm for us.
Well, I will say this. It takes a special kind of individual to be able to get through and handle that. And I'm not saying I'm special, but I have enough lived experience in my 57 years that prepared me for this moment, I think. Yeah. And basically, I had to work from June 4th to September 18th from 4 in the morning until 9 at night, every single day, no days off. I didn't see the sun. I didn't know what was going on in the news. If I could have put on a space diaper, I would have done that, because if I could save 15 minutes, I couldn't eat. And I basically had to tell my family, you guys are going to have to bring me food and force me to eat, because I can't stop this product. I can't stop any aspect of doing this in order to get these orders out. It's impossible. I was the only trained baker at the time. So not only baking the cookies, making the dough. That's the hardest part, is making, thousands of pounds of dough every single day. That takes hours. And then baking the product, cooling the product, washing all of the dishes and equipment that goes with that. And yes, I had a team, but I had to do a lot of that because it's, they were untrained. So it was extremely hard. There were many nights where I went home. I got home at my 9:30 p.m. and I just, I cried. I remember telling my husband, why did God do this to me? Why? Like, am I in hell? Am I dead and this is hell? And he's like, no, you're alive. You're perfectly fine. You can do this. And I just didn't see an end in sight. And not only that, I didn't know how to manage staff. I come from personal training. I always worked by myself. I didn't have staff management. I didn't know what problems were going to arise and how to handle them properly. And because of that, I made some costly mistakes that I thought were the right decisions, and they weren't. But I've learned from it, and now I feel like I'm at expert level at some of those things.
This is such a great story.
Yeah, it sounds like it was physically taxing, emotionally taxing as well. I mean, I think about those hours and I'm just like, how did you do it? It's like, and then you're still trying to focus on building this business and talk about, like, when it rains, it pours, but like this was like pouring rain for weeks. I mean, how did you come out of this? And when you did come out of it, were you still operating at that scale, or did those orders start to dwindle? Like, what happened after the major influx? Because then it's like there's almost a whiplash period too.
Yes. So one of the smartest things I did is a friend of mine said, you need to hire a marketing and PR person staff. So I did. And I hired her. That's another big chunk of that money went to her. But that was one of the best decisions I ever made, because I was getting so many inbound inquiries from media, because it was a crazy story, right? And one news ran it. And then all of a sudden, every news outlet, including, ABC 2020, was knocking at my door wanting to film me and interview me. So she was able to wrangle all those media inquiries and phone calls we were getting. And she taught me a lot. I worked with her for 3 years after that, and she taught me business acumen. I would have calls with heads of corporations who wanted to partner or work with me. I've never talked to a CEO. I didn't even know what a COO meant, know what a lot of these things meant. And so she would lead the call, and I was very observant. I was listening to her, and I saw how she talked. There's a whole language in corporate America. There's all kinds of things and just business acumen that I didn't have. So she taught me all of those things, including media training, which prepared me to be able to grow. And not only that, she said, we need to tighten up your branding. I'm going to hire a designer, and we're going to tighten up your brand guide so that when these major media outlets want to reach out, we have photography. We have a package that has photography, your fonts, your colors, all of those things. And she tightened that up for me. And she taught me all of that. And we started fielding some of those bigger inquiries, and she really helped take my brand to the next level. Whereas I saw other brands were having the same boost like I did, and today they're back to where or even a month later, they're back to where they were before. But I wanted to take this wave and ride it. And I'm proud to say we've continued to grow year over year. We maintain that growth and continue to grow from that. And
wonderful. Congratulations, because that's no small feat.
Now, is there?
Thank you.
As you're growing, is there any are you drawing boundaries now? Like you obviously exploded. Is there Are there times when you're deciding what not to do? Like, I'm not going in this route. I'm placing a boundary. Any advice you would give to anybody that's, growing at this rate to say, hold on to this piece right now and and draw some boundaries around it?
Yes. Thank you for asking. Everybody has an opinion and an idea that they think is best for your business. But when you're living it and breathing it 365, 10 years plus, you should consider yourself an expert and trust your gut when you want to pursue and do something, because you know every aspect of what's going on, where an outsider who gives you a piece of advice might only know from their, peripheral vision of what's going on, right? We opened that store, and since that growth, we've opened a second retail store in a true retail location that looks like a cookie shop, not a production kitchen front lobby.
Yeah.
And I'm learning we're celebrating our third year there, so I'm learning how to manage a true retail store because there's some nuances to it. Our online has taken a little bit of a dip because just people spending isn't the same as it was in 2020 with e-commerce.
Right.
It's one of the reasons. We've just launched a dry mix of our cookies because customers across the nation want access to them. We're not in retail stores. People kept saying, you should be in stores. Well, it's very costly for a brand to be in stores, and most of them, unless you're supported by big food, don't really make it. And since I'm self-funded, I don't have the investment backing capital to be able to support growth and distribution for CPG entry stores. And another thing, when you said managing, putting boundaries, I don't want to say the name, but it's rhymes with goldenberry, sort of.
We'll let the listeners figure it out. They're all doing the jingle in their head now.
A major e-commerce platform that sells food reached out to me. I had been reaching out to them back in the day before I knew anything. Hey, you should sell my product, and I was ignored. Well, they reached out to me this past year. And, the sales pitch, it sounded like it could be a great collaboration, but I have to do my diligence because I'm self-funded and every dollar counts, and I have to be very intentional with how I spend my money. And I almost was going to go with them, and they were pushing the contract on me very quickly. Like, you have to sign. And this contract is pages long.
Dangerous.
Right. And whenever someone
someone
pushes you to sign something that quickly, that's when my spidey senses say, slow down.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And they say, if you're not going to sign it, we're going to get somebody else over here. So act now.
Yep.
Yeah. No, do not immediately do not sign. Yeah.
Right. And I thought that was going to be a way for us to grow our e-commerce even more, since it has slowed slightly since, the 2020 to 2023 boom gold rush. In the end, I didn't go with them because they're such a large platform and so many strong brands are on their platform. And I say that story because boundaries, right?
Yep.
And I would have
been your best interest, and it turns out they were not. Yeah.
And I would have been turning over my e-commerce to them, so I would not be able to sell product from my e-commerce. People,
it was an exclusivity.
Yes, people would go onto my website, and when they clicked order, it would take them to their website, and so they're the ones collecting the money. They're the ones, and then they would pay me later. So
it was
I don't know if that story is of interest of anybody listening, but
I'm sure somebody could
100%.
deeply benefit from that. I know there's a lot of we get a lot of restaurateurs on the show and some of them have their own line of products that they're looking to launch and move into CPG. And I feel like this is a really great lesson learned for them, because I'm sure there's a lot of these e-commerce sites that are after them. And we've talked to people before who have sold to some of these major sites and have talked about some of the challenges, the pros and cons of doing that and what it did for their business, both good and bad. So one of the other things I saw on your website was your subscription model for your cookies. And I know that subscriptions tend to be the holy grail for many founders because it's steady money in the door every single month and you kind of know what to expect. How is your subscription business done, and any advice that you would give to people that are considering a subscription like model for their product?
Yeah. Can I be frank and earnest on this podcast?
Absolutely.
I don't like to BS around.
we prefer it that way, in fact.
Yeah. Okay. So for my brand in particular, 2020 to 2023 was like the frickin' 1800s gold rush for e-commerce and supporting the Black-owned business and, products. And everybody and their mama was selling on e-commerce, right? So with that being said, people's spending habits have cooled since then when it comes to online shopping. And not only that, but the major I don't want to say the name, but the major company that a lot of us use to order things has made it difficult for brands such as mine, independents, because customers are used to next day and free shipping. And that's just not something that's feasible for a cookie company because we're baking it fresh, can't get it to you the next day. And the cost of shipping the product. So with that being said, the subscriptions, when we launched it, amazing. It was great. And it continued to be great. And then I started noticing in 2023-ish, it started kind of taking a little bit of a dip where people were canceling their subscriptions. I'm one of those people. I had a soap subscription. And I don't anymore because I'm trying to save on costs. And
like so many of us are.
Yeah. So I think subscriptions can be great. For me, it was great for, the first few years when everybody was ordering subscriptions and it was the hot ticket. But it's since cooled. So I don't think it's something that you can rely on to really, maybe some people can't. I can't rely on that to really for my company's growth. And I've learned some things from subscriptions as well. But I think it's not as amazing as it used to be.
So my next question is, what do you wish more people understood about entering into this business before they actually decide to make the leap and try doing something like this?
I wish they understood how hard it is. They see this glossy image on social media of, people showing their business. This is one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I've given birth 3 times naturally. I've run 5 marathons. So, I'm not
saying a lot.
That's a high bar. That's a very high bar.
Yeah,
wow.
It's hard and it's a sacrifice. My kids are adults now, but I don't see how I could have worked this hard and dedicated so much time and energy, whether I want to or not, to the business when I had young children and been able to raise them. I'm just being honest. And I know there's lots of people that have done it. For me, I don't know if I could have done so because right now my husband and I are empty nesters and we still barely see each other because the business takes so much of my time. And not only that, he works for a Fortune 500 company in corporate America, but we call him our unpaid intern because on the weekends, if there's an errand to be run or help needed, we're like, let's call my, Dusty,
of course.
Can you go? And he's there with a smile. And he said, that's, sometimes the only time I can spend time with you. So I'm happy to do so.
Oh,
and it just encompasses so much time and sacrifice on your health. Sometimes I work for long hours. I'm standing for long times and I'm no spring chicken.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, where'd those veins come from? Or pains or whatever.
It's hard.
It's
in
hard.
many different areas of your life. Exactly. And I think there's also, there's a good point that you made there too about your family and the impact that becoming a founder has on your family, especially when you're not, when you're not just single doing your own thing or you're in, I think that's a very real and raw answer.
There's one more point that I'd like to make. And, there's times where we're struggling financially. And after talking to some of my mentors, some who have exited multi-million-dollar exits, they say, guess what? There's times I was struggling too. That's just part of business.
I think the point of this podcast, it's so you want to run a restaurant. It's like, let's get to the actual rough part of this because it's not easy and it's not, and everyone, there's a lot of people who think they can do it and then you can do it. It just takes a lot of work and sacrifice. All these stories are absolutely incredible and uplifting and encouraging the fact that you made it to the other side. And I'm sure there are moments where you didn't think you were. So let's look to the future vegan plant-based market. Where do you see the industry going next and what opportunities are out there for those who want to have a plant-based and vegan business?
It's an interesting time right now. A lot of vegan businesses are going out of business. It's a very small niche market. And for that reason, I don't identify myself as a vegan business. We just are a gourmet cookie company that happens to be vegan. And most of our customers are not vegan. They're people that like our product. Or I didn't realize there's a term called mission driven until until 2021, I was like, what's that mean? And that's just how we are. We're mission driven. And I recognize that there's people that want to support that. For Maya's Cookies, what that mission is we support nonprofits that support underserved communities, especially the youth. And that's not something we do for Instagram. That's just how I always have been. And it's because I was once that underserved youth who was always hungry and had to get donations. And I always wanted to be on the other side where I was the one giving the support. And I don't write checks because I can't afford that, but I give my time and talent, meaning we donate cookies to organizations such as the Boys and Girls Club. We hire interns from career programs that support people that are trying to get their lives back on track.
That's amazing.
We work with Junior Achievement to teach financial literacy, and we hire interns to teach them how to run a business. So I was just doing that because that's what I believe in, and that's how I wanted to give back. And once people started finding out some of these things that we're doing, word started spreading, and we got even more media coverage. And I recognize that there's people that want to get behind a brand that means something to them that they can align with.
Great answer, because I think
that was a great answer.
Because I think you nailed it. I think it's the Simon Sinek start with the why, something bigger than yourself. And oh, by the way, we make great cookies, and that's kind of he does a better job than I just did of that. But
in what you are doing in the community, which I think is so important for businesses to tie themselves to that for their own personal reasons, and just because I think it's good karma for a business. I'll just say that.
Yeah, you know what? I have something to say on that. So being a Black woman, it's important for me to show other little Mayas what can be, because when I was 7 years old, I went to Catholic school. I wanted to be a nun. But in 1977, I never saw a Black nun or a Black priest. And so I just automatically assumed, I want to be a nun, but I can't because I'm Black. And that's literally what I thought when I was in second grade, but it's a good thing I didn't go into the convent because we wouldn't have Maya's cookies. But anyhow, that is a perfect example of you can't be it if you can't see it. So I put myself out there so other kids that maybe don't have access, and that's in the underserved community, sometimes they don't have access or see themselves in spaces. And I want to show them that you want to be a business owner, look at me. You know, you want to be a CEO. I used to get so embarrassed to say I was the CEO, and I realized that I'm the CEO because I want to own it so that other little girls or people of color or people from underserved communities can see that someone like me, I didn't go to college because of my lived experience didn't allow that at the time. I didn't go to culinary school, but I used my time, talent, and just taught myself and used people around me and resources to help me grow.
Yeah. Sense of purpose and dogged determination. Those are two soft skills that don't get taught at culinary school or at college. So good for you.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Well, Maya, before you go today, this was an incredible conversation. I love all the things that you're doing. We have a little rapid fire round that we do with all of our guests before they go.
I need 2 on the fly.
Messy kitchen or spotless kitchen?
Spotless kitchen.
Okay, you like to keep it clean back there.
I'm a Virgo.
Okay, that explains it. Yeah, enough said.
You got to work clean. Favorite cookie flavor? That's a simple one. Favorite cookie flavor?
Funfetti.
Ooh, nice choice. The funfetti.
One thing you stopped doing that immediately improved your business?
Listening to other people's advice that are not in my industry.
That's great advice. That was and it's a hard thing to shut off, but it's very good.
And what
advice.
I mean by that is your auntie so-and-so who's trying to give you advice. Auntie so-and-so.
There's always an uncle.
Yeah, everybody's got an opinion.
Well, my Uncle Bill. Tell your Uncle Bill to order some cookies, and that's how he can contribute. What is one daily habit that you're not going to compromise on as a founder?
Well, it's a double, meditating and exercising. But I do those together as part of a daily routine. It's for mental clarity to be the strongest leader I can be for my company.
Yeah.
Was it difficult? Like, you obviously had to take a break from that when you were doing those insane hours from 4:30 in the morning until 9 at night. There was no exercise or meditating happening.
No, and I lost 15 pounds and my hair was falling out and I had my veins in my eyes bursting on a daily.
So you want to run a restaurant? There it is.
There it is, right there.
Lose your hair and go home crying every night. That's that's what it takes to make it. So wow.
Well, thanks so much, Maya. We really appreciate the conversation today, and wishing you all of the continued success for you and your business.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me a platform and a microphone, and I hope someone gets a nugget out of this that could help them.
I have no doubt they will.
So You Want to Run a Restaurant is created by Back of House, produced and hosted by Claudia Sarek, with Nick Florick as executive producer. Marketing by Hillary Young and Ashley Dunn. Creative by Manisha Kishenchand. And live production by Sarah Heemstra. And of course me, your co-host, Spencer Michael. For more information, visit backofhouse.io/podcast.